Hello, everybody, and welcome to my live for today. It's Wednesday, middle of the week. Happy hump day. Hope everybody's having a good week. So, what is the subject for today? Well, I've done a lot of different videos on the E-2. Okay, that's the investment visa. That's not the one where you invest $1 million. Okay. It's the one where you only need around 100,000. Okay, and I say only, and I know that's a lot, but it's a lot less than $1 million. And I want to discuss today about where to file. Okay, and why you file where you're supposed to file. And that's going to be the subject for the E-2 today. And then, once I'm done with my video, with the spiel on the E-2, I will go back. I will answer as many questions as I can, assuming there are questions, and then we'll go from there. Okay? All right. So let's talk about it. What is, first of all, just briefly, the E-2. You have to come from one of the countries that has a treaty with the U.S. in order to do the E-2. Okay? And so not every country qualifies. Like, I just give you some examples. China does not qualify. Taiwan does. India does not qualify. Pakistan does. Mexico qualifies. Canada qualifies. A ton of countries in Europe qualify. Okay. So there's a lot of countries around the world that do, but not everyone does. All right. So assuming you qualify, what I get a lot of times is people will be here in the U.S., okay? And I find this humorous. Sometimes they'll say, okay, I'm here on B2 and I want to do a change of status to E2. And I go, well, when does your B2 expire? And they'll say, well, it expires in 2 weeks. And I'll say, well, number one, it's super not realistic to think you can do a whole E2 in 2 weeks. Okay, it's not happening. Okay. And secondly, I let them know where the better place to file is. Now, thank you for the rose. What you want to understand is that, thank you, is that if you do an E2, while theoretically, I met my goal, thank you very much. Theoretically, when you do an E2, you could do a change of status in the U.S. You could be on B2 visitor, F2 student, whatever, and do it. But the reality is, it's a lot better to do an E2 at the consulate. Okay? Number one, if you're doing an E2, you're an investor, you're an entrepreneur, you're a business person. And chances are you're going to want to go back and forth to your home country anyways. If you do a change of status, keep in mind that when you do the change of status, the moment you leave the country, that change of status is gone. And you're going to have to go to the consulate anyways. Okay? What also is really nice about the E2 is that unlike most of the other types of visas, the E-2 does not need prior USCIS approval. Okay? Which means you don't need to send it to USCIS first, get an approval, have them send it to the consulate, go to the consulate, and then have them do the interview. Okay? You don't have to do that. You can send the E-2 directly to the consulate. And you know what's nicer also? Is there's a specific E-2 team at the consulate. Okay? A specific E-2 team. That means that this is all they deal with. I mean, they may do other petitions, but at least they know what E-2s are. When you send an E-2 change of status to USCIS, you're not getting, a team dedicated to E-2s. You're getting someone who might do one E-2 every 5 months. Okay, so I'll take a gamble and risk any day at the consulate with an E-2 rather than USCIS. And secondly, the procedures and the places and the ways to do the E-2 at the consulate are smoother, easier, and faster to get through. I mean, if it's done right and you get the E-2 to the consulate, you're looking at, just a few months. It's not that long at all. So the E-2 is the way to go at the consulate. Okay? I mean, if you just look at other ones, like an L1, L2, that's also an investment related one, business, intercompany transferee, O1, whatever. Those those have to go through USCIS first. And if you want it fast, you have to do expedited processing. And then no matter how fast you are, then they need to send it to the consulate. Okay? So there might be disadvantages, obviously, with doing an E-2 at the consulate. But I can tell you, of all the ones I've had over the last 30 some years, and I've been practicing for 30 some years, 99% of the E-2s have gone to the consulate. That's a reality. Okay, every now and then you get someone who comes here and they don't want to go back to their home country, and there's sufficient time for you to process and get the E-2 inside the United States through a change of status. But like I say, the vast majority, there's too much to do. You can't rush the E-2 through anyways in preparation. You need to do a complex 5-year business plan. You need to do the E-2 petition itself. You need to have the exhibits, the corporate chart, the investment structure as to where it all came from. You need to have the supporting declaration pages. There's a lot of stuff you have to have, and you're not going to rush an E-2 through. So don't think that, you can just go up to an immigration attorney and say, I need an E-2 in 2 minutes, okay, or 2 weeks. It's not going to happen. I mean, there's ways of making it faster by giving us what we need more readily, okay, including the investment in the business and so forth. But when it's all done, especially an E-2 to the consulate, usually my firm, what we do is we have a nice package, okay? And the package, of course, has the table of contents, the headers, everything else that's necessary to make it happen. Okay, so it meets all the requirements, has everything crossed and dotted when it goes to the consulate, and then what happens is they pre-review it, and then someone at the consulate basically will notify me that they're ready to do the interview, and then they call you in for the interview. Now, obviously, you want to review the E-2 packet before you go in. You don't want to just go in cold and go, oh, I'm going to start a business? No. You want to know what it's doing. You want to review the packet, and you want to, ask me, of course, if you have any questions before you walk in the door. Okay? So that, in a nutshell, is where you file the E-2. All right. Let's go to the beginning of the line here. Thank you for the hearts, everyone, and the roses. And let's see what questions we have. Okay? So I'm at the top now. Well, thank you, Laura. You got the #1 gifter badge, and you gave me a lot of roses. Appreciate it. Let's see. I'm just going down here, scrolling, seeing if we have any questions. 1 second. Okay, 1 second. Well, we have a Bitcoin comment, but Bitcoin has nothing to do with immigration, so we'll just pass that. Okay, before going to criminal trial and blue trial, not pled guilty, there was no plea bargain given. There's not really a question there. I mean, if you didn't plead guilty and you're asking me about, I assume you're asking about criminal relief, okay, post-conviction relief. So if you had trial, it's a whole lot more difficult to get, the crime vacated, because if you pled guilty, you there's all kinds of motions you can show as to why you pled guilty. You can say, well, they never told me that if I pled guilty, I'd be an aggravated felon, deported for the rest of my life, no chance of coming back. I didn't understand what I was playing to. Okay, but if you had trial, you can't say that. Okay, so I'm not sure what you meant about blowing trial, but If there's any appealable issues and there's still time, you should appeal it. Okay, hello, I have a from Brittany. Hello, I have a question. Is it safe to travel with AP, that's advanced parole, for someone who has a theft taking misdemeanor? No, absolutely not. Not a chance. I would not travel at the. I mean, what Trump's doing with advanced parole is, 1 minute it exists, the next minute it doesn't, and that's with people with zero issues. So if someone is inadmissible, perhaps because they have a misdemeanor, there's no way they should travel, because if they come back and they find out, which they will, they have to run it all the time. If they find out about this, they could very well deny entry, or they could put in detention, or they could put in removal proceedings. I would take care of the misdemeanor issue first. So I don't know if the person who has the advanced parole, what their current waiting status is and what they're waiting for. It could be on asylum, it could be for the green card, whatever. But more importantly, I need to see if they need a waiver. Some people, they go the whole way, and then it gets denied at the end because they didn't file a waiver when they could have. Okay? I mean, I can do motions to reopen. Yeah, we got 1,000 likes. Um, I could do a motion to reopen to get back in, but don't worry so much about the traveling right now. You need to see if a waiver is needed. Okay, criminal waiver. Brittany got the #1 gifter badge, and Mitt got the #2 gifter badge. Appreciate it. If the advanced parole was already approved, I mean, it doesn't change anything I said. Doesn't change a thing that I said. Okay? I would not go with the misdemeanor, period. I mean, if you do, you like playing roulette, okay? Can you answer some questions about immigration? Well, that's all that I answer. I only answer questions about immigration. Go ahead and ask me something about something else. I won't be able to answer. And even if I could answer, I won't, because it's not about immigration. That's what this is about. Excel got the #2 gifter badge. Oh, wait. I was scrolling and just went all the way down again. Okay, here we go. Just a minute. How do charges 211 and 459 work together? Okay, well, first of all, this is from Chaka, who got the #2 gifter badge. Thank you. I don't have all the code sections memorized, and every state has different code sections. So I'm not even sure what state you're from. I suspect you're from California, because 211 rings a bell. It's robbery. So I need to know more what these provisions are. I need to know what state you're from. I need to know the grounds of inadmissibility, and then I'll be able to help you. Okay? So Chaka got the #1 gifter badge. I appreciate it. Good morning. I'm saying good morning back to the brown man who just got the #3 gifter badge. Okay. Let's see. Okay, what will Lincoln Riley do for someone who is convicted? I mean, it's not good. I mean, obviously, the Lincoln Riley Act is totally in court, and there's going to be lots of lawsuits, and we're going to see what sticks and what doesn't. So it's on a case-by-case right now. It's also depending jurisdictionally where you are, and I need to know what the conviction is. But I know that you previously said something about a misdemeanor, so it's likely that person would qualify for a criminal waiver. Okay? I just need to ask you some questions to determine that. Okay. If I have a J1 visa and not subject to the 2-year residency rule, can I change to H2B? And the answer is yes. Minus some issues, okay? I mean, are you on status right now with the J1? If you're not in valid status, you can't change to H2B, regardless if you're not subject to the 2-year foreign residency rule. Now, on the J1, it also means you're not accruing unlawful presence days, which is good, okay? Which is good. That means you can theoretically go outside the country, get the H2B, and come back. Now, that's just those issues. Now, there's other issues. There's only so many H2Bs issued per year. Basically 33,000 every 6 months. and they get used up. And there's also limitations on what country you're from. H-2Bs are not given to every person from every country. So there's other issues with getting the H-2B other than just that you're not subject to the 2-year foreign residency requirement, okay? Will the prima facie protect from deportation? Okay, well, first of all, prima facie means you have a bona fide case. You know, something you've proven that is it's basically a decent case. It's not garbage, okay? It doesn't mean it'll be granted, but, you know, on initial look of it, there's sufficient evidence that they can wait to adjudicate it and see if it actually wins, okay? So, I don't know, are you on a U visa? Okay, if you're on a U and it's been determined to be prima facie, that by itself doesn't protect you from deportation. So I need to know what you're referring to as being prima facie, what has been proven to be sufficient to move forward, okay? If we have DACA, will they order deportation? I mean, obviously pre-Trump, the answer is no. But, you know, he's trying to get rid of everything. There's been court cases, actually favorable one that just came out in regards to DACA. But you never know. That's why I'm telling people, I mean, right now, the answer is you're not going to be deported right now, okay? But if you're on DACA, it's just temporary. You need to find a better way. So there are all kinds of ways you might qualify ultimately for the green card. So while you're on DACA right now, and it's safe right now, do what you have to do to start applying for the green card if you can. Okay, when green card holder with criminal record is stopped by ICE while driving, what are the consequences? Well, they're not good. Okay. I mean, if I were you, first of all, before that happens, I would contact an immigration lawyer, contact my office, because I'm an immigration lawyer, and I need to see what can be done, okay? Believe it or not, there's people that have past criminal records that are green card holders that want to renew their green card, and they have a better chance of becoming a U.S. citizen under the law. It's sort of strange, but that's the fact. So I need to see what your criminal record is. I need to see if you're inadmissible or not, what you might qualify for or not. When ICE stops you, and if they determine that you're deportable, they can put you in detention, removal proceedings. But what they can't do is force you to talk. They can't force you to admit things. Okay? So you can tactfully say, you do not consent to a search. You do not want to speak with them without your attorney. You can say that, okay? And they can't force you. I mean, they can intimidate you. They can say, well, you're going to tell us if you committed this crime or not. We want you to admit right now that you committed this crime. And you're under no obligation whatsoever. Don't do it. They're not there to help you. Okay? They're definitely not there to help you. So if they take you and they put you in detention, you know, contact the immigration attorney, see if we can bond you out, represent you, and all of that. You just have to go with the flow. But don't agree to let them search your car. Don't agree to admit to anything. And definitely, and most importantly, don't sign a thing. They're not putting something in front of you to help you. They're putting some in front of you so that you'll give up all your rights and be deported easy without fighting. Okay, that's what they're putting in front of you. Okay? Can you apply for advanced parole if your case was expunged? Well, it depends. Expungements in most crimes and immigration law do not do a thing. Under immigration law, they don't do a thing. But there are ones that do, okay? So I need to know what exactly you expunged, okay? And if you're if you're thinking about advanced parole, you ought to be thinking more importantly, how can you get the green card quicker, okay? Because I'd have some hesitancy. More importantly, how can you get the green card quicker? Okay? Because I'd have some hesitancy advising people to go on advanced parole these days, especially if they have a crime, whether it's expunged or not. Okay? Okay, so this is back from Chaka, who I said, well, what are those crimes and how do they work together? Burglary and robbery. caught on my door camera, kicked in my door, attacked and vandalized. So I'm taking you were burglarized and you were robbed, and I take it you're probably asking if you qualify for the U visa. Okay, it's possible. It's possible. Were you there when they did this, or is it just on your camera? Because if they burglarized and robbed your home, but you were not there, you're not going to qualify. But if you were there, and there's possible assault, and you were afraid that they were going to shoot you, type thing, you definitely are going to qualify. So I need more information. Okay. So here's another follow-up from a question I did earlier. You're in status, but you only have 4 months on the J1. Well, I mean, that's fine. So, yes, you might be able to do the H-2B, but it all depends. Okay? If you have someone to sponsor you, then first we need to determine, one, if all the H-1Bs are used up for this 6 months, and if not, you need to get moving. You need to do the change of status from J1 to H-2B, but first you need to do the first part of the H-2B, which is, akin to the perm on a regular labor certification. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, but you need to jump on it. But even if you can't do the change of status right away and you have to go back to your home country, that's what you have to do. Okay, but again, you also have to be the country that accepts H-2Bs, okay? And user ton of numbers, but again, you also have to be the country that accepts H-2Bs, okay? And user ton of numbers has got the number 3 gifter badge. Thank you. Okay, you want me to explain more about the Laken Riley Act, but the problem is so much of it is up in the air and in court. I'll make what I'll do. I'll tell you what I'll do. I want to do a video on it, a live on it, where I go into what parts of it are in litigation, what are not, what parts passed, what parts didn't, to make it more clear. That needs a whole live, okay? So I'll do that for you, all right? So I got that up here. I'll do that for you, maybe next week. Okay. Hello, sir. Does your office file writ of mandamus cases, and how much does it cost? Well, I don't quote prices on the live here. Yes, we do file writ of mandates, but I need to see what your case is. I need to see if, in fact, you would qualify for it. If enough time has passed where you haven't heard anything. A writ of mandamus or writ of mandate is when you file a case against immigration, and you basically, the purpose is to order them to make a decision. So we never file a writ of mandates if you don't have a really good case to start with. Okay, if you don't have a clearly approvable case, I would never even do it in the first place. So I need more information about what your case is about. Do you take new clients where you are located? I have DACA and I want to have a lawyer right now. Yes. Immigration law, interestingly, is federal law, right? Even though, depending where you are, the application of it may be different, of course. The cases are applied differently. But immigration law is federal law. So I have clients all over the U.S., okay? I've traveled all over the U.S. It's always better to get someone who's an expert rather than someone who happens to be just local. So give my office a call. See how I can help you, okay? How high are the stakes of getting deported if you're waiting for the I-601 to get approved? Before a week ago, 0. Now, it depends, okay? It depends what your situation is. I assume you're talking about the I-601A, okay? I assume you're talking about the provisional waiver. Or if not, if you qualify to adjust and you're doing a waiver. So it depends. I need to know why you need the waiver. I'm assuming that there's a crime that was committed. I need to make sure it is waivable. Understand they can't just come to your door and throw you out the country, okay? That's why you don't sign anything. Don't sign a thing. And then there's all kinds of ways, like I would be able to represent you if they try that, okay? First you have to go to immigration court, and then an immigration court can make various motions to stay any deportation, can make any motions to try to, have the court take jurisdiction over the adjustment. And then, of course, if you're in court, they can't deport you if you're in proceedings, believe it or not. So there's ways of doing it. Okay, but you have to know some of your rights. Some of your rights, for example, are you don't have to allow ICE into your house if they don't have a judicial warrant. Okay, if they have an administrative warrant, they could have written that on a napkin the morning before. So that doesn't mean anything. But a judicial warrant is what they would need to enter your house and search. Okay, and again, that they'll lie up and down what you're signing or what you need to sign. Don't sign. You can be professional and cordial. I'm sorry, I have an immigration attorney told me I'm not supposed to sign anything. I'm sorry. That's all you got to say. Okay, they won't force it if you say that. Okay, let's see. I've been arrested twice on drug charges. However, I won my case via trial. Is there any... Okay, I can't understand the end of your question, but if you won your trial, then that means you don't have a conviction. Okay, doesn't matter. But given that, you still have to disclose when you're filing things in immigration. You can't say that nothing ever happened because that's a lie. Okay, but if you won the trial, then you weren't convicted. There's not a legal conviction. Okay. All right, 8.5 years waiting for asylum. No court day with U.S. citizen kid. What can I show if I'm detained? Well, you've waited a long time, haven't you? I mean, and how old is your kid? Okay. I'd need to see if you have any other ways that you might be able to adjust and so forth. Because you might be waiting forever. Who knows? Okay. I mean, if you're detained, you obviously have proof that you filed the asylum, right? You have the receipt. I don't know if you have affirmative asylum where you filed and you're just waiting to be called for an interview, or if you're in court. I suspect it's affirmative since you waited so long. Okay? And if you have a really good asylum case, there's ways to essentially try to force them to give you the interview. Okay? All right. He humiliated me, refused to apply me for I-130. I'll apply for VAWA. Can immigration call him? Okay, I'm assuming this is someone who was either mentally or physically abused, and you're afraid that if you apply for VAWA, that your spouse will lie up and down, or your ex-spouse will lie up and down about what happened. Okay, let me tell you, under VAWA, the law says not only can they not call him, if he sends a letter, with 32 different things you supposedly did, they cannot consider it in the VAWA application. It is against the law for them to consider, talk, or in any way communicate with your spouse if you do a VAWA application. Okay? So that's that. How much is the consultation fee? Initial consultation, which is short, because it only takes me a few minutes to get down to it, is free. However, if you want a more detailed one, 20 minutes is $250, 30 minutes is $350. Okay? I'll feel like they'll stop me soon. A lot of people are feeling like that now. So you need to know your rights. You need to see what you can do. Okay? Okay. And here's someone who is just saying if they're here illegally, they don't have those rights. And, I love when people think just because someone's not a resident or not a citizen that they have no constitutional rights, and you are incorrect. They do have constitutional rights. They do have a right to refuse someone entering their home without a judicial warrant, ICE or not, illegal here or not. They do have a right to not sign anything, and they do have a right to get an attorney. Okay? Let's see. Let me see just a minute. I have a few minutes before I have to leave to the office. So let me see what I can get done before then. How can I get your number? My office number is 562-495-0554. And you can get that from all the other places you go, and it'll be all there with you. Okay. Appreciate it. I'm looking forward to giving you a consultation. What about people who have submitted their documents and haven't received their receipts? Can they be detained? I mean, it depends what you've applied for. It depends how long ago you applied for it. And the fact is, immigration, they're going to want to try to detain everybody these days. So theoretically, it's possible. But then by the same token, even if you are, if everything goes well, you can be bonded out, okay? So just remember the rights as I've told them to you. And, if you have to go in detention and be detained, you'll have to be. But again, there's all kinds of procedures to try to get you out, okay? And if you get an attorney before that happens, we can try to get a stay issued before anything ever happens, okay? All right, let's see. I guess you're not on Eastern time? No? I'm sitting here in California. Let's see. Butterfly got the number 3 gifter badge. Thank you. Applied for a U visa. Can my husband be protected from having a DUI for over 25 years ago? Okay. I'm assuming your husband applied for the U visa. Is that right? And a DUI generally doesn't make someone inadmissible, but it depends on different factors, as in where it is. And even if it does make someone inadmissible, there's ways of doing waivers for the U. Okay, so there's definitely ways to work with that. Call my office. If a person has a removal order under DACA, can they still be targeted and deported by ICE? Yes. Yes. Okay. There's ways, though, that you can be protected. Okay. I can't get into all of it right now, but there are ways that you can be protected and get a stay of deportation. Okay, I have my oath, sir. I have my oath next. Tongue-tied. I have my oath ceremony next week, and I was given a warning ticket. A warning ticket for what? Okay, if you have some criminal activity that has occurred between when you said yes and before your oath ceremony, that's going to be an issue. That's going to be a problem. Okay, I mean, if it's just driving thing, that's or just like a speeding ticket, that's different. But you may want to disclose this before you have the oath ceremony, just so there's no revocation of your approval and no grounds that you're misrepresenting anything. Okay, good information. Thank you. What cases, even if dismissed, but still guilty under immigration? Okay, I'm not sure I understand your question. If the case was dismissed and you had trial, there's not a conviction. But if it was dismissed because, you entered a diversionary program and you did everything the judge said and it was just rehabilitative type thing, then it is a conviction under immigration law. Okay? You're a victim. You were in the shower when the doors kicked down, the nephew attacked, gun pointed on me. Well, if you're saying that, I know this follows up from before, you definitely qualify for a U visa. Have you made the police report? Are you working with them? Contact my office. You definitely qualify. You should not just sit there and not apply for it. I mean, you qualify. It takes a long time, but, if you qualify, you qualify. Let's see. Okay. I'm getting too many questions at the end. I don't think I'm going to get all of them, because I have to leave here in a second. Best time to call your office? Just call whenever. I mean, I don't sit there and answer the phones. Just call whenever, and they will schedule you for the consultation. Okay. You're welcome. Okay. All right. Well, I'm sorry. I'm not going to get to all the questions. I do my best, but what I'll do, just come on the next live, and I'll get to as many as I can, and we'll go from there. I have to get ready to head to the office, okay? So everybody enjoy the rest of your day. I hope I passed on some good information, and we'll see you on the next live.